Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, currently featuring Steven Universe, Miraculous Ladybug, Archer, and Powerpuff Girls. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Delaney Stovall.
Hello.
Today, Delaney and I will be discussing the, 16th episode, there, I nailed it, of Miraculous Ladybug,
Yay.
Animan, I don't remember how they said it in the episode.
Animan.
I know,
Something,
yeah.
I don't know.
I think I wonder if that's the actual English title or if we will. Yeah, I guess it is. I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
Delaney and I are discussing Miraculous Ladybug every week here on the Overly Animated Podcast. We originally were covering the English dub, and we're now doing the French version of the show. Although apparently, Disney UK is surpassed Nick in terms of airing the dub, so maybe the dub's actually going to catch up, and we'll have the option of going back to the dub or not. So I don't know.
All confusing.
Yeah, so who knows what we'll do. The show's just airing too many places at once. But I guess that's
So I was really confused because it's Disney in other countries, and then
it is.
It's Nickelodeon. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What's going on?
I mean, I guess the appeal, one of the appeals of the show is that it's airing so many places. So yeah, we discuss Animan. You can find out more about this podcast overlyanimated.com. See our past miraculous discussions there, or you can subscribe to us on iTunes, search for the Overly Animated Podcast, or on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher. So let's get into this. We watched the French version again of Animan. That just sounds like saying Pokemon. That's what it's. Yeah, that's how I feel like. So I don't know if I want to say the title anymore.
We'll just refer to him as the villain.
The villain, yeah, there you go. They kind of just randomly say his name. Like he doesn't name himself that, and also Hawkmoth doesn't really name him that.
Yeah, it's weird. He just becomes a panther, and then
this was a weird episode. So, what did you think of episode 16, Delaney?
I liked it. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed it. It's a weird episode. It's really weird. And also, I do think this is one of the biggest episodes where it really shows that we really don't have to have a villain every week. It was really weird this week with the framing, and we almost I was kind of annoyed that we had to have a villain. I don't know. It was just there was a lot going on in this episode. It was weird.
That was my
reaction. There were some good things though.
Yeah. That was my reaction. Was I liked it. I think I don't know. It was
something.
It was there's a lot happening. I think that there's probably too much happening in this episode because I started trying to keep track of the big moments, and then there was just so many of them that I feel like none of them ended up none of them are big because they're just because I don't know, this episode had 5 of the top 10 Marinette Adrian moments of the series all in one episode, and there's also tons of other stuff happening. So
there's a bunch of characters and just everything was going on.
Yeah, I think that I think this is them trying to execute in a novel way on not a novel way, but just on an exciting way on the typical structure that they're shoehorned into with this season, and it ends up just being these jam-packed episodes with so much happening, and I think it loses a sense of narrative coherency. I mean, I think everything made sense. It's just there's so much here that I didn't necessarily take anything specifically away, and also I didn't see this as a good whole. I just saw it as a bunch of moving parts that didn't really come together that well as an episode.
Yeah, it was just you can have a bunch of good stuff in an episode, but then it can't add together and be what?
What are you thinking back on the episode? What are your standout events happened to you? For you?
Well, I mean, I just thought this was hilarious, and I think it was a really funny mechanism for the episode is that Nino and Marinette both had the same earpiece. That's hilarious. It was so funny. That entire scene was just great. It's so ridiculous that they're that Adrian and Alia are both in the bushes 5 feet away from each other talking.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that the villain was a panther. It was interesting, though I do feel how we had a villain was kind of ridiculous and probably the most annoying way we've had it the entire time. But it was cute. It was cool that it was an animal, I guess. Yeah. Also, Marinette's parents were in it. That's great.
Do your faves, your new faves.
They're great. Like they're just so funny.
They're
And it was
like,
really funny because Marinette kept being like, I
yeah,
mean, madam.
yeah. Hi,
Yes, sir.
hi, Ladybug. That's what they basically were.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Nothing like super stand out. I did like when they were doing Lucky Charm and she was like, we didn't even use it. What? And then she literally jumps into the T Rex's mouth.
Yeah, she's like, that's not how the episode goes, right? I have to use
And
the
Cat
Lucky.
Noir freaks out.
Yeah. I think that probably okay. So like here's the thing. Here's what I mean if you're I think I have a better way to phrase this like too much happening in the episode. This episode's kind of initially structured on, having a crush on Marinette, and if this were the beginning of the season, that would have been it. And that would have been the entire
Yeah.
episode. But that's like not even relevant in the episode.
Oh,
There's just so much that happens.
it's just
So
like, oh, Nino has a crush, then he doesn't.
like
Now him and
yeah.
Alia are a thing, which throw up in my mouth. Moving on.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll talk about that, but yeah, it's like that's like a big moment, and this is one of the setting up to be one of the big Nino episodes. But then it's almost not relevant.
Well, Nino and Alia are literally locked in a cage for the
And
rest of the episode.
most yeah. If previous episodes are any indication, we would have like went back and checked on them a few times, but that didn't happen. So like Alia's been locked in actually in a cage before. Like
Yeah.
she actually has been. That's not good. But yeah, it's like with the girl they were babysitting, I think, right? And we've checked back on them and stuff like that. So this is I don't know. There's a lot going on. I think the standouts are the Marinette and Adrian stuff. I don't know
Yes.
which form they were in when it happens, I guess, but there's a lot here. I think that this moment at the end with Adrian like thinking that Marinette was like dead or something. I think that this is like one of the big times this series has kind of gone for something kind of actually interesting, and not like it's one of the only times it's gone for something, but it's one of the only times it's tried to execute, and for me like clearly failed. Which I don't know if I mean I know like over half of our audience is like big Marinette Adrian shippers, but to me like it just narratively this is just pretty bad because it's so incredibly obvious that Marinette is not dead and she is actually trying to do. And Adrian's emotions do feel a little forced. The event feels a little forced, and I think that it's still a good big moments for their characters, but I was just kind of surprised how the show did. It just felt very like unintelligent. This event. It's like obvious. Is this supposed to be suspenseful? It's clearly not.
Right.
Did you have that same reaction?
Yeah, I did, and it's just the show has there are no stakes to anything that they do. But like they literally like in the episode were like, oh, we'll just get the bracelet and then everything will go back to normal. Like there are no stakes in the show, and it's really hard. And when you even have an entire universe based around this idea that like no matter what they're gonna save the day and Lucky Charm fixes everything, that it doesn't really. You can't have scenes like this because it's like there's no possible way Marinette's gonna die.
That's a good point.
And honestly,
yeah.
I thought
Continue.
like you can't play things like that. Like it's not because that there's no way it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Even if it's like a 5-year-old watching the show, they're like, oh, they're fine. Like it's so obvious. Like everything always gets fixed. Which that's fine. You can have a narrative universe like that, but you can't bank on moments like this because it's not going to work. Like it's ridiculous.
It's a good point in that it's not just that the first time they've had something fail. It's the first time they've ever tried to do something like this. And I think you're right. Maybe it just wasn't the execution, which was like it could have been more suspenseful because it's just obvious what was happening. Maybe it's just the very concept of it doesn't work in the current structure of the show because the show is very safe. With like its repeating structure, and they literally at the end of every episode, the main character throws her hands up and announces the show's title, and everything is magically fixed, which is like literally actually what happens. So in a show, where that happens every episode, you can't really do what they're trying to do here. I think it's just I think this was like a clear faux pas in a show where it is usually pretty competent. So I was pretty surprised that happened.
I would say the bigger moment for Ladybug and Cat Noir was when she like scratched his chin. I actually liked that. I thought that was cute.
So there's like five of these big in a different episode. I would have clearly made this the screenshot, like attract the the shippers and like move on. But there's like five of them here. These moments,
Yeah, no, there's a lot.
we'll go through what's the screenshot. There's like Cat Noir sniffing Ladybug, which is
That was so funny. What a weirdo.
I was not a fan of that.
Well, okay, that's the other thing with this episode. Like, Cat Noir made zero sense in this episode. Like, his ears, like, okay, does he, like, because Ladybug's Ladybug, but she doesn't act like a ladybug. It's so weird.
Oh my god, that's
Like,
the first
Ladybug
thing.
can't fly.
Why haven't we
like,
discussed that before?
And then Cat Noir, like, Cataclysm didn't make any sense, like, at all.
Yeah, I have
like,
no idea what his Cataclysm did. Yeah.
Because I was like, doesn't he just break stuff? What? So I understood that he broke the bus, but then, like, it didn't just break, it, like, did a bunch of crap. Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
no, you're
weird.
right. You're right. He's just very cat-like here, and
He heard, I'm doing air quotes, you can't see them, but he heard the eagle. No, no. No, no. Oh, no.
she's cat powers. Whatever. I don't know.
So,
Yeah.
I was so done.
Let's go through the big moments. So there's that. So there's the sniffing thing, which was really weird. There's the Marinette scratching under his chin, which is the best one, definitely, right?
That was so good.
They're Ladybug and Cat for both of these. There's a moment where their faces are very close or something, and Cat Noir is like, I'm good at attracting attention.
Yes, you are.
Which is, yeah, but not in a good way, right? But and this is one of the ones Ladybug Ladybug didn't react badly to that, so that's kind of interesting. There's their hug at the end. Obviously that was a big moment, and that's four. Maybe there's another one. We'll get to it. There's a Marin. Oh yeah. So those four were them as Cat Noir and Ladybug, and there's one in the beginning of them as Marinette and Adrian, where like they go to pick up the thing at the same time. Yeah, and their faces are really close in that one too. So there's your top five shipping moments of the episode. That's our normal segment, right? You know, we're very big on the Marinette Adrian shipping, so
Oh, yeah.
so that's a regular segment here. But yeah, that was I feel like that's one of the big takeaways. I think that I don't even like. Here's the thing. Previous episodes, like last episode, I was like, this is a huge episode for like Marinette and Adrian. I think it really developed their like friendship as people, and they interacted a lot in this episode, and they also interacted a lot of superheroes. But I don't like even know what to take away. There's just so much happening.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any
what?
concrete conclusions to make about the
Yeah.
advancement of their dynamic.
Yeah, I don't. It's just, who knows?
Yeah,
A lot happened.
maybe we'll get to something as we continue, but it's the ending. I feel like another potential criticism of this episode. Maybe it sounds like I like didn't like it. I thought that it was a good episode. I just didn't. I just thought that there's like a more obviously weird than normal, I guess. Another potential criticism was the ending didn't necessarily resolve the Marinette and Adrian stuff that happened at the beginning of the episode. Like, I think that in the beginning they were kind of setting up a lot of interesting Marinette Adrian stuff that was not at all approached again at the end. So there's no real nothing really to take away in terms of their advancement of the two of them, because nothing even happened. Like, Marinette just learns that he was there. Like, that's kind of it.
Yeah, it was just like the entire framing of the episode ended up like going away. Like, it didn't matter at all.
Yeah, instead we just get this weird thing with Aya and Nino at the end, which we'll talk about if we buy. I mean, I guess we can talk about that now, right? Like, so okay, so also obviously in our hashtag Maralia shipping watch, we had a big moment of
She face plants
into her chest. Like, seems pretty gay there. I mean,
it was pretty. I mean, man, that was some quality gay. That's what that was.
Marinette like begging Alia to help her, and then this is how she chooses to to curry favor. It's
literally like face plants into her chest.
Yeah,
that is not how you hug a friend. I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah. I'm sure we'll have people say that. I don't know. I think it's presented platonically in the show. Whether it's a realistic portrayal or not, I think it is certainly at least presented that way. In terms of like intent, right? Like not in terms of like what we should be
Yeah.
concluding, like intent from the writers. Like I don't know, they obviously weren't trying for something there, but that doesn't mean that I didn't. That's not what I thought of during the scene.
Right.
Yeah. What do we think? Okay, so in the beginning we have Nino having a crush on Marinette, which we did not previously know. Correct?
So it's really funny that we just kind of go around and everyone is just in love with Marinette all the time.
I've talked about this before. I actually find this like a very satisfying thing.
Oh, it's great. No, I love it.
A lot of shows like have attractive main characters and then they're just like super unpopular. And I kind of like we talked about this last week. And like this show, it seemed that way in the beginning, but it turns out that was just Marinette's perspective. And it turns out just she's actually like the popular girl in the class and Chloe isn't. And also, it turns out like everyone's in love with her.
Yeah,
So
it's fantastic. Like, everyone wants to be her friend. Everyone
yeah.
thinks she's cute. I'm about this.
I
This
think
is good
it's a really
stuff.
nice subversion of that type of trope, and I also just think it's like realistic because obviously she's gorgeous, right? So
You know, it's
it,
it's so it's refreshing. Like I've
yeah,
read a book series and like the main character is a guy, but it's really funny because like literally the entire book series just everyone's in love with him. And it's really funny because like it's because obviously it's because he's wonderful, but then all these bad things happen to him, but everyone's still in love with him. It's really funny. Like this is
I,
such a funny thing to me. It's
yeah.
hilarious.
It's what I think this is one of the more subtle things they've done, which is like pretty interesting narratively. Is this just this change in perspective on like narrative Marinette's role in her school? So yeah, what do we think of this for Nino's character? We haven't seen a ton of Nino. It's really hard to like try to conclude anything because he's not much of a character, honestly.
Well, I like that it's like because you know we started watching the show. I'm like, oh, Nino and Ollie are gonna end up together. Then Adrian and blah blah blah. So I kind of like that it didn't really like go that way immediately. Like he actually liked Marinette, and then it just kind of happened.
Yeah, I so okay, so
Also,
that
they were throwing around love quite a lot. I was like, calm it down. You were 14. Tone it down.
the word love, yeah, that's true. I mean, it could be a translation
So
thing, but I'm not sure.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah. What do you think of the concept of them like the setup here and like them the earpiece thing? We talked about that, right? You were a
That
fan
was
of that?
so funny. Like,
Yeah.
that's so funny because okay, it was really funny because at first you didn't know that Adrian and Nino also had the earpieces, and it's just like because they show them first, and like okay, they're kind of being normal about it, and then it just goes straight to Marinette and Alia being weird and totally them with their earpiece. Like obvious, that's such a like obviously Alia's gonna be like, hey, you need an earpiece. Like we're gonna like Mission Impossible this stuff,
Yeah,
and it's hilarious.
I do like that we're lampshading the fact that we have two very similar friend relationships like on the show to the extent where they're both like doing these absurd things. Um,
And then they both have the same earpiece and they don't notice, and it's really great.
it's pretty
And
good.
they're huge earpieces, like they're massive. They're
It's
not even
interesting.
earwigs.
I
They're
think that
giant, like black.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, I think that like the in the beginning of the episode, I was like kind of very focused on the Marinette Adrian dynamic because I feel like that's what the beginning of the episode was focused on. Like they had the
Yeah,
thing where they bend down at the same time, and it's just it seems like it's more of a thing. This is like a setup for them to clear the way for Marinette and Adrian. Um, and I almost the Nino thing was kind of inconsequential. But then this it like I do think this is like structurally not good because then that just doesn't go anywhere, and instead the Nino thing comes to the forefront. So I don't know. I just felt very like in my burgeoning Marinette Adrian shipping was very unsatisfied by the this episode how this episode turned out.
well,
Like
it's so weird and there's just no payoff at any moment.
but like after last week's Gamer, which is like just the best by far Marinette and Adrian
Yes.
episode, like this is a pretty big letdown, I think. And it's you
Yeah.
know it's not like they're intended to tear after each other, but just it's an interesting contrast. So let's talk about the ending. What do we think of it's like oh we spent all this time together and we're pretty similar, so you know now we're a thing maybe I don't know.
I don't know. This is weird.
What's your impression? Are they a couple now, or do they acknowledge that they like might be like in the future? What was your impression of this?
I thought it was more of like a possibly in the future kind of thing, not like right now. Like Alia was very much like stop talking, like shut up. And then
I would like that a lot more, right? Than if they were just
right.
yeah.
Also, like it wouldn't make a lot of sense if they were suddenly a couple because they were just locked in a cage together for like a day. So I
Yeah.
feel like it's more of like also I think they're kind of playing off Nino's character. Nino's I keep like inserting a tilde into his name, but um
Nino. El
Nino.
Nino.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just I don't do it on purpose, but they I think they're playing up a lot that he just kind of gets the feels. So because he went from being madly in love with Marinette
You think
and
he's
not being
like,
able to talk to her, then oh now I like oh yeah. So I think they're kind of playing off that. Like I think they're kind of making fun of it a little bit.
you think he's like fickle emotionally? I see.
Well,
Um,
not I don't like the I don't want to like to say I don't want to say the word fickle. It's
I
very
mean,
much I mean
I didn't mean it in a negative way. I don't know.
yeah I know
Or,
I just
yeah.
meant like it's more of like they're like in high school or whatever they're
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. It was a very high schooly thing, right? Yeah.
It's just very oh no I like oh yeah like we have a lot in common. It was just
Okay.
you know
Oh yeah. Update on the where they are in school type thing. I think we had someone from France or somewhere around there, and it's like
somewhere around
my working knowledge is that French middle school goes until 10th grade, much like Japanese middle school. So I think that's what the commenter said. So they could be like up to 15 or whatever. So
yeah, but they're like in middle school.
but they're in like quote unquote middle school, but they could be the equivalent of college of high school freshmen for the U.S. Yeah,
okay, which we had pretty much figured that out. We
that's
just
what I
weren't
said
sure like
last time. Yeah,
how they work.
yeah. I mean, it's not
I mean,
clear
there are.
what
I mean,
they could be as young
that
as
does
12. I
happen in
don't
the U.S. too. Like junior high versus high school. Like some junior highs go to ninth or 10th grade.
know. Maybe I don't know.
So it's the top work. It's not as much now, but back
Maybe in
in
the past, yeah,
like I mean like probably about definitely 20 years ago. That's how it was.
yeah,
Especially from
something
where
like
I
that.
am, from where I'm from, they had like my high school is the senior high because back in the day there was junior high and senior high and senior high was just junior and seniors.
Interesting, interesting. All
Yeah.
right, so yeah, so I don't know. We definitely don't have official ages for them, so we'll see in the future. Um, yeah, I think it's hard for me to like know if I agree with that assessment of Nino's character because I just don't like the when's the last time we saw anything significant from Nino? It's been
Yeah,
so
like
long.
he's just here.
I think it's kind of a mishandling of that character. If that character is supposed to be important, I just don't think they've shown him enough.
Well, it's kind of it's just really random.
Yeah,
Like suddenly Nino loves Marinette, and then oh now he likes Alia. It's like what?
yeah, and I also think like the end of this episode is not super logical considering in the beginning of the episode, um, Alia said, "What? No, not Nino. He's like a brother. Yeah, he's like a brother to me."
Yeah,
Which is something I'd been told by our commenters before, which I don't think we'd actually seen on the show, like
right.
that they're very close. I don't think we'd actually like seen that. There's one scene several weeks ago
Yeah.
where it was implied that they
That
were
when they
like
were filming.
maybe yeah, it might have been that. I don't know. Where it's like implied that they were kind of close. And so if first of all you're saying that in the beginning was not super resonant just because we hadn't seen it. But then like if they're close, why is my question is like what if they're close before? Why is them just being locked in a room like gonna take? Is that why does it take that for them to figure out that they have things in common? Like didn't
Well,
they
and
already
yeah,
know that they were like
yeah,
compatible to a certain extent, but
it's
they just like interpreted it in a different way.
yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense,
I just
like
feel like
at all.
their explanation of like Nino's explanation of that when they walked out wasn't didn't like gel with me a lot. Like the if I just don't if they were close before, then they would know that they have things in common. Maybe it
Right.
took them being close for a while for them to like view this closeness in a different light. Like I could buy that. So
Yeah.
maybe that's what they mean. But just the whole thing seemed a little off.
It just I think it's kind of I don't want to say like it's retconning necessarily, but I think this is a thing that is suffering from like the shows not necessarily being in like a particular order.
Yeah, I think that's
Like
probably true. Yeah.
I think that's partly what this is. Like if we had seen this episode and then a later episode, it would have made more sense.
Yeah, I do think so. One of our commenters made a list, and it's possible this was one of the episodes he would have recommended airing earlier.
Right.
So I don't know. It's yeah, definitely if they're trying to do continuity things, it's not going to work when you just air them randomly. What do we think of the role of Kim in this episode? So
What a jerk.
let's talk about the what a jerk. What? Come on. So let's talk about him. This villain plot, which I think is
Well,
clear.
he's like not even a jerk. It's ridiculous. Like
It's
he wants
just
to race a
absurd.
panther.
So,
Like what?
so I think we've talked about a lot of negative things, but I think clearly the most negative thing about the episode is everything involving the villain.
Yes.
Which I think this is the third week in a row where the real life stuff has been way more interesting than the superhero stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, not
Also,
actually not necessarily. I just think it's the villain stuff this week that was not interesting. I think the cat and ladybug stuff was interesting. It's just like
yeah, no, it's just been the villain. It's not
yeah,
been the superhero stuff. It's just the
yeah.
villain
So
have been
let's
taking care.
clarify that. Um,
But
so just the
comment.
absurdity. Yeah, what was that?
We were talking just before I forget. We were talking about the dating thing.
Hmm.
Okay, so they're in the ear like the earpieces. She's talking to Tiki. Why didn't Alia ask who she was talking to? She could hear her.
I don't remember. No, I don't remember from the beginning.
And
Well,
Tiki was talking,
we can
and it
go
was
over the
like,
outline. Well, we have some tiki moments to talk about too. Don't worry.
oh god.
Don't you worry about that. But yeah. So the absurdity of just the whole villain plotline being based around Kim wanting to like race the panther, which
Like
so this
what?
I think makes sense with his character. Like that's fine.
No, it's fine. It's perfect for a 13 to possibly 15-year-old boy who wants to race a
Also,
panther.
Kim is
Sure.
just kind of absurd. I actually really like
Yeah.
Kim though.
No, I like
Yeah.
Kim. Kim cracks me up.
Yeah. Um,
Also, it's really funny that Max was there, like doing math.
Max was like, I guess they're friends. Max wasn't even doing anything in this episode. He was just
He
there.
was just there.
Uh,
Him and Max go to this.
oh yeah, he
ship.
said something like, yeah, he was calculating whether who would win the race. Yeah, that's kind
He was like, "You would be devoured."
yeah. Um, just why is the zookeeper getting so pissed off that Kim wants to race the panther? Who
Like, it's
cares?
just like you're not going to race.
This is the dumbest
Clearly.
thing, and then it just none of it like actually makes any sense. Like I just I to the point where I wonder what their train of thought was in determining this plotline.
Okay, he's gonna turn into a panther, guys.
But
It's gonna be great.
yeah,
No,
which I guess it's like okay, the new Panther. Then we're gonna have, but just the motivations surrounding it are just so absurd. Yeah,
well, it just they just wanted to have a zoo episode, and they didn't know how to have a zoo episode.
I don't even know what they wanted to have. I'm not sure where the
So
starting point was on this episode conceptually. I think maybe
it's
the earpiece thing was the starting point, and then we worked from there. But yeah, it's very very odd. What did you think of the villain being able to transform into any animal? I like he transformed into a ladybug a few times, and Marinette's like good taste. Yeah, that was good.
I did think it was funny they turned to a ladybug. Like it was fine. I think I would have preferred if he had just been a panther the whole time, though I guess it makes sense with these villains being ridiculously OP that he can turn into a T-Rex. So
That was yeah. I mean, whatever. If he turned into T-Rex, yeah, they
it's
did that
whatever.
to have to like have dialogue puns off of that, but yeah.
There were a lot of puns.
And
It
then
was
at one point we
painful, as usual.
compared him that being a black cat to a cat noir. So I guess that was
Naturally,
good
that
too.
always has to happen.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, whatever. It was fine. It wasn't one of our better villains. The motivation behind it was the most absurd of the show for sure. Let's go through I have quite a long outline here because there's a lot happening. Let's go through this kind of quickly. I might skip some stuff because there's too much here. Oh yeah, in the beginning they were looking at Adrian modeling in a magazine. Yeah,
I was
typical.
really expecting that to be really weird because like he leaned down to pick it up and it
He
was
didn't
like,
react to
oh,
like.
I
Are you
know.
so like used to seeing yourself places that this is just like a normal occurrence?
I mean, I guess so. I mean, we see his face everywhere.
Oh, I forgot the biggest. We'll get to it when we go through that line. I forgot the biggest Adrian and Marinette moment. Was
For
well,
you.
maybe not. Maybe it wasn't the biggest moment. But I think it's an interesting one. At some point, Adrian as Kat is in their house, right in Marinette's
Right.
country,
He's looking at
and he looks at the picture of them as a family.
it was pretty cute.
So I'm
That
not
part.
sure if that's because he is starting to like Marinette or because he's like longing for their family dynamic. Probably the latter.
Yeah, it could be both.
I think it's and when I was watching it, because again, burgeoning shipping for the two of them, because this is like actually him like liking Marinette and not Ladybug, which is like much more appealing to me. I was like, oh, that's what that is. But then thinking about it now, I think it's probably the family dynamic thing because that's like the defining attribute of Adrian's character, even though the show like never does anything with it. I assume it'll come into play more once the the prevailing fandom theory is confirmed, but we'll see. So I don't know. Let us know how you interpreted that. That was like an interesting thing that was like pretty clearly
Well, we
shoehorned.
also just came off of an episode too where he really liked the family, and it was really clear that
Yeah,
it's because like he wishes his parents were like that his dad was just involved.
yeah. So I think it was probably the latter a lot. Nino says he finds Marinette super cute. That was how they translated that. I agree, I
Yes,
guess.
same.
Yeah. Um,
Me.
you're super cool, Nino. Otherwise, you wouldn't be my friend, says Adrian to Nino. Are we? So, what about the ship of Adrian and Nino?
I mean, they're cute. It's fine. It's
I'd
fine.
be shocked if the fandom does not part of the fandom does not.
Also, it's really funny because like literally this entire episode, it's just Nino being like, "You're a model. Like your problems are not my problems."
Yeah, I like
It's
Nino.
so funny. Like I was like
Nino's like,
literally,
check your privilege to Adrian all the
you
time.
know,
It's
it
great.
was so
Yeah,
funny. Like you can talk to girls. You're a model.
yeah,
Like it was really fun. I
yeah,
enjoyed it a lot.
yeah. We talked about the bending down, see the bag thing. We'll talk about that again in a second. I am a super fan of animals, said Marinette after she's like stumbling over words to Adrian. Are you a super fan of animals, Delaney?
I mean, I yes, I think so.
Same.
Animals.
Sure. Uh, Earth to Marinette, boy, the boy of your dreams asked you out. Um,
He's
uh,
just sitting there like dying, like
yeah.
literally like can't talk. It was so funny.
So they did like a sideways fist bump. I thought that was interesting.
Well, it was really like they kept doing it, and like I don't know if they were doing it like like I don't. It was really weird. Like they did it several
Maybe that's
times.
a European thing. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it before.
What do you
Like
think of
I've
this?
seen that.
You've seen it before?
Have you not?
Sideways fist bump? No, I've not seen it.
Yeah,
No.
I've seen that quite a bit. I've done it myself even.
Maybe it's I'm too old for that.
Okay.
Okay. What do we think of this random flashback? Yeah, I'm like 3. Yeah. What do we think of that random flashback to Marinette going into the boys' bathroom to talk to Adrian?
It was so funny. Like why?
Again, this isn't a lot happening. There's just a random
It's
flashback
so much fun.
too.
Like this is so crazy. And it was so funny because then they were like, oh yeah, next time watch where you're going. Like, how do you accidentally
Yeah.
go into the boys' bathroom, Marinette? Like, really? It was pretty good.
Marinette says, "Where are you, love of my life?" And Tiki says, "If you can't speak to Adrian, maybe he's not the love of your life." That line was super interesting.
Tiki, go back into the purse.
Here's the thing with Tiki. Tiki has exhibited an entire range of motivations with regards to Marinette's life. She's
Like,
all over the place, and it is completely
what are
not
you
clear what her aims are involving Marinette. Like, I guess she is looking out for her most of the time, and maybe this is a version of that. But why is she suddenly at like a high point for her, just completely discouraging her about Adrian? Like, I kind of agree with what Tiki's saying. Like, I think what she's saying is true. Like, why if you just like but
can't
like
talk to?
it's like that's a pretty big obstacle. But just this line was so random and weird.
It just Tiki is just so weird. Like
Yeah,
Tiki just pops. It's like Tiki, just no, stop. You creep me out. Go back into the purse.
yeah.
But literally, she's talking to her, and like the entire time, this like all these exchanges are going on. Like, are you talking to someone? And Aya doesn't notice she's talking to some random creature. Like, really?
I didn't think of it that way during while it was happening. I guess so. Yeah.
Ugh, it just so much frustration.
Well, how would Alia and Tiki get along?
I feel like they would both just like boss her around. Like they would team up,
Yeah,
and like
they would team up.
they would, and then Marinette wouldn't be able to deal with any of it. She's like, "Can you please both leave me alone?"
Mm-hmm. After Nino tells Marinette that he likes a girl but can't tell her,
Adrian just sort of flips out. It's so
yeah,
funny.
Marinette says she can help, and then Alia says, "You're a love declaration specialist now." I like that. It's like yeah,
That was pretty good. And then Marinette gets sassy back.
yeah. I don't remember what she
Pretty
said,
good.
but
I can't. She just repeated the line that Alia said, like sarcastically back to her. It was really good.
another bad thing in this episode. I've complained about the reused animation before, which I hope goes away for the second season. This episode featured back-to-back transformations. It was really tiring. I mean, I've initially when we got into the French version, tolerated it more
Different now
because she's Tiki transformama, right? Like
Yeah.
yeah, and they both say that, right? But it was back to back, like no new animation for a solid 25 seconds. So we're seeing it's not good. They talked about they did like food chain puns a few times. Whatever.
Tiring.
Yeah, the scratch Marinette or Ladybug scratching cat under the chin. What do we think of that?
I love it. That's actually probably my favorite Adrian well, Ladybug Cat
Yeah.
Noir thing ever. It was
It's
pretty
because for
good.
once it's not him like aggroing, right? It's
Right.
uh
Aggroing.
aggroing. Yeah, I mean we in video game terms.
I
Uh,
know I know what aggroing means.
I mean because we had a video game episode last time. That's why. Oh yeah, Ladybug going into her parents' house. Bonjour, madam.
That sir.
Yeah, to that, sir, which I assume made sense in French, but subtitles didn't make sense. But or maybe that was the joke that it didn't work. I don't know.
So I think that's why it's funny because she's like, oh.
You know, uh, something about them smelling and the smell. Yeah, a ladybug, excellent choice.
Okay, it was kind of weird that they were like they they had just assumed he would turn into something small and they were planning for it and it didn't make a lot of sense. Like because it just went so fast, it was really awkward and it was like why the little box? I don't understand. And then like obviously it made sense because he did turn into something small, but it was weird. Like that was a weird part.
We talked about the cataclysm to escape the bus. It just didn't.
Like
Yeah.
what?
Um, he's giraffing him crazy. You're the one giraffing
Oh,
me crazy with your humor. Yeah, there you go.
oh my god.
Extinct.
I
It's cheating. It's an extinct species. My lady, if we stay here, well, two more species will go extinct. Yeah, that's the wordplay I was talking about before. Um, attracting attention. The face is closed. Then the entire thing at the end with the car jack and the going to the mouth. And yeah, I thought I lost you at the end.
oh,
Yeah, I'm interested to see what people say about that. Whether to me, it just clearly didn't work. It was clearly like emotionally manipulative. It was like not suspenseful.
there's
Like
no payoff. It was just like, oh,
yeah.
she's fine though.
Feel free to disagree, but yeah, I'm interested in other opinions on that, commenters. And yeah, at the end, the whole stuff with
I mean, it was interesting because it's the first time we're seeing Kat like really express like genuine emotion,
yeah, I get that. I think that's the intent is to show that it's not just him like teasing, like
being
he
annoying.
genuinely is like in love with her, right?
Yeah,
So, it's like I think that's clearly the intent. I got that from before that scene. Like it's been clear to me.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So I didn't really need that. All right. It's time to pick the screenshot of the week. I've given like 10 options here.
Oh my God, there's so many.
Are they
Okay,
opening up?
I see all of them. Yes,
Okay.
so I know which one I want. You're not gonna pick that
So
one.
here's the
I'm gonna
first.
decide.
The first one is in the beginning of the episode when Marinette and Adrian go down to pick up the same thing and they're smiling at each other and their faces are close. When that happened, I was like, okay, I got the screenshot. We don't even need to do the segment. But then there's just like kept going. The next one is when Marinette face plants into Alia's chest, and the third
That's
one
my
is some
favorite.
other version of that, them looking at each other. What two or three? Which is your favorite version of this scene?
I mean, two's hilarious, but I think three's great because she's like kneeling, looking up at
Yeah,
her.
very romantic. Yep.
Good.
Number four is this like weird close up of Marinette's face.
I would pick four. I think four should be the actual one.
It's really if I get the subtitle away, maybe.
It's so.
It's like Nino's like she's like expecting Nino to say something, and yeah, it just close ups on her
It's the
face.
part where she's like, he's like, it's you, like trying to tell her
Yeah,
who he
that's
likes.
yeah.
And he's like, you, oh yeah.
Yeah. Number five is the scratching under Kat's chin, which I mean, maybe it's this one.
I mean, I like it, but I mean, I like the scene, but I don't like the
I
screenshot.
like the screenshot. I
Well,
don't know.
obviously you took it,
What, so
so
number six is Cat Noir sniffing Ladybug.
this is almost as awkward as the one last week.
So weird. Why did he do that? So weird.
He's such a weirdo.
Number seven or whatever is their faces close when he says, "I'm pretty great at attracting attention." And I think Marinette's face is interesting in this one.
Yeah, it is. I do like this one.
Yeah, she's like not completely disgusted. Notable.
Notable.
And then another really great contender is the typical last shot of the episode, which in this case is Marinette with and then a thought bubble, and then her seeing Nino and Alia like with hearts around them.
If we could just like edit like Nino out, it'd be perfect. Just crop Nino out and then just have Alia with heart.
Let's do.
Can that
Wow,
be
you're
it?
such a shipper. Oh my god.
No, that'd be so good.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Perfect.
And then that's the screenshot. We'll just have like
Yeah.
it's just
People would listen to it just to yell at us because like that's not what happened.
We have to, no, we have to like crop Marinette in there, like as Ladybug or
Yes, there we
something.
go.
Yeah, and
Yes.
a picture of her holding her hand to the right or something, or to the, yeah, whatever.
Yes.
I think that's what we'll do. No, but okay. Assuming I don't have to do much work here. I think the contenders are,
I think 4.
eh.
Oh my god, the one time I want the cute Marinette phase.
But
Dylan's like,
it's
no, I
not.
don't really
But
feel
it's
the
not the cute
Marinette
Marinette
phase.
face. It's the weird Marinette face.
No, I like it. It's
I mean, I
great.
think it's
It's so
funny,
fun.
but I feel like if we're gonna do a funny one, we can do a different one.
I mean, number 3 is pretty good.
Yeah, I
She
don't
just
know.
stares.
I think we got to attract the.
The best ship one is them by the fountain or the roof or whatever, where like they're behind the car. That's that one. Yeah, number. Well, how many are there? Jeez.
Yeah, there's a lot. The fate. Yeah, we could do that one.
Second to last. I like that one's fine.
I don't know. So we'll decide whichever one. It could also just be the first one because it's also like which is the least amount of work for me to not including the subtitle.
See, that's we play this game, but then Dylan ultimately decides.
Yeah, I'll consider this. So we'll see. Which maybe probably the one and then from in the car because I think Ladybug's face is pretty interesting in that one.
You know, I really like that one.
Okay, so there you go. The most contenders ever for the screenshot selection. Let us know which. I mean, you maybe if someone leaves a YouTube comment, I can post all the links if you guys want to weigh in on which is the best one. Although it's gonna not matter anymore at this point. So overall, good but frustrating-ish episode with a lot of potential.
Can we get a villain where we're not irritated? Like, yeah. Can we get a villain we actually like? Because that's part of the charm of the show. Is like some of the villains are really interesting.
Yeah. Oh man, next week is called Antibug, and I see the translation of the Korean title, which is a spoiler. I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, the Korean title translates into something, and it's pretty hype. So we'll
God.
Yeah, so we'll discuss Antibug next week on the Overly Animated podcast. Check us out, overlyanimated.com. This ad-free podcast is brought to you by our patrons. Thank you very much to Shayna, Mitch Cordell, Beatrice, Nate, Andy, Jamie, Rachel, John, Ryan, Catherine, aka Hannah, Fever, Mitch Cordell, University, Beatrix Strange, Nathan, William, Buzz Lightyear, Mailman, Rachel Rose, Johnny Bravo, Brian, and Cookie Cat. You can go to patreon.com/overlyanimated to potentially support us. We're going to keep going one week by 1 week through Ladybug until we catch up, and then something of note is we're almost definitely going to continue weekly coverage in some form afterwards. Thank you guys for listening. These are actually clearly our most listened to podcasts, so I really appreciate the support you guys give. And
we love you.
Yes, I always appreciate the comments as well. I try to respond, and just. I mean, yeah, I think the comments will be also more interesting once we're all on the same page in terms of the show.
That'd be great. Thank you for not spoiling us. By the way.
Thank you very much. Yeah, don't spoil Delaney on the next week either. It's gonna be good though. And
I actually kind of got spoiled for this episode just being on Tumblr.
I mean, what spoiler was there?
Well, it was something about like, our Nino and Alia thing now, and I was just like, no, I just pretended it wasn't real anyway because I don't ship it, so it was fine.
I'd like known that Nino would have a crush on Marinette because, like, I guess I saw the beginning of the description.
Well, I didn't know that. It was just something about Nino and Alia, and I was just like, because it was like, I guess they're a thing now, and I just like scrolled past. I was like, nope.
Yeah. Nope. So there you go. Let us know. Let me know your thought on any of these topics. YouTube comments, Tumblr asks, overlyanimated.com click on the podcast and leave a comment there. Really appreciate it. Thanks again, guys, for listening. Last comments, Delaney?
It was fine. I did like that it was a panther. At least I like panthers.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking. What about white tigers? That's my fave.
They're cool too.
Yeah, I mean, white tiger's the best.
I like cats. If it's tiny cat, big cat. Delaney likes cat. Doesn't really matter.
Delaney confirmed for liking Cat Noir. That's what we'll end on now.
No, wait, crap.
Confirmed. Oh. Cat Noir is Delaney's favorite character.
Crap.
It's been confirmed. So thanks for listening, guys. We will discuss Delaney's favorite character, Cat Noir, next time on when we discuss Antibug next week. Bye.
Bye.